All right, let's dive into this Oulipo thing, shall we? You've given me a really interesting mix here. Academic stuff, some cultural analysis, and even interviews with Queneau. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's quite a collection.
Definitely. And, my main interest is how Oulipo messes with what it even means to be an author.
Right, yeah. And what strikes me right off the bat is that the Oulipo, even its name, right, Ouvroir de littérature potentielle, it's not easily defined. It doesn't quite fit as a school or a movement. More like a workshop, really, all about exploring potential literature through constraints, creative constraints, often using like math or predetermined procedures.
So flipping through these academic excerpts, it seems like Oulipo is really about deliberately imposing limits on the writing process. But wouldn't that kind of like kill creativity? It seems so counterintuitive.
It's a paradox, isn't it? But when you look at the examples you've pulled here, like Queneau's exercises and style, where he tells the same story 99 different ways, 99. Or his 100,000 billion poems, which is a book of sonnets with interchangeable lines. It does make you wonder how constraint leads to such, prolific output.
I found this quote in the Place Public article. I think it gets at this. A constraint is an axiom of a text. It is a principle, not a means.
That's Jacques Roubaud, another Oulipo member.
Right.
And it really highlights how they see constraints, not as like roadblocks, but as the foundation, guiding principles for the creative process.
So the constraints actually become like collaborators rather than limiting the author.
Exactly. The academic source we have really grapples with this whole idea of a Oulipian author. Even questioning if the term makes sense in this context, it quotes Italo Calvino, who asks, how can we disrupt not the authors, but the function of the author? So there's this move away from the traditional, lone genius idea.
But how does that actually work in practice? If you're working within these set constraints, doesn't that mean giving up some of your individual authorship?
That's where the whole workshop aspect of Oulipo comes in. They collaborate, share ideas, experiment together, but all within that shared framework of constraints.
Sounds like a secret society almost. The article even mentions rituals, membership by invitation only, their own internal calendar, all very hush-hush.
Yeah, very secretive.
Though it seems like they've opened up a bit more recently, even collaborating with other art forms now.
Yeah, that's led to some interesting offshoots like Expo groups, exploring potential in music, painting, even cuisine.
Wow, cuisine.
Yeah. So Oulipo's influence has definitely gone way beyond just literature.
Let's go back to Queneau for a sec. You included some YouTube interviews with him. What were your impressions?
He comes across as very witty in those interviews, very playful.
Yeah.
Even when he's discussing complex ideas, he's clearly brilliant, but there's also this down-to-earth quality about him.
And he's so open about how he writes. He even mentions imposing structures on his work, after he's already started writing.
Yeah, that's crucial. It shows how he saw constraints, not as restrictions, but as tools to channel his creativity. Remember, he was once a surrealist, but came to see their focus on pure spontaneity as, formless.
Right.
So the constraints he developed were a way to push back against that.
That shift from the surrealists to Oulipo is fascinating. What do you think caused that change in his thinking?
I think that's where his fascination with the connection between written and spoken French comes in.
His Neo-French project.
Exactly.
I'm kind of confused by that. What was he aiming for there?
He was bothered by the growing gap between the formal written French used in literature and the way people actually spoke. He felt literary language was getting too stiff, too academic,
right,
losing its connection to everyday life, to the way people really experience the world.
So Neo-French was his attempt to bridge that gap, to create a written language that actually mirrored the rhythms, the vocabulary of everyday speech.
Precisely. He even tried out a more phonetic spelling system, one that reflected pronunciation rather than the traditional spelling rules.
Interesting. But he admits in the interview that it didn't really work out, right?
Yeah, he does.
Why do you think that was? Too radical a change for people to accept?
There were probably a few things at play. I mean, written French has such a long, complex history. It's so deeply ingrained in the culture. Challenging those norms is incredibly difficult.
But even though Neo-French itself didn't take off, the whole exploration seems important. It shows Queneau wrestling with language, pushing the boundaries.
Absolutely. And if you look closely at his novels, you see this really cool blend of different registers of French. Colloquialism, slang, even regional dialects, sometimes all within the same sentence.
It's like he's creating this whole new kind of literary music.
Great way to put it. And it makes you wonder if his work with Oulipo, with its emphasis on experimentation, actually helped him to synthesize these different elements in such a masterful way.
Okay, so we've got Oulipo's approach to constraints, their collaborative workshop-style model, and then Queneau's experiments with language. What else is there to uncover?
Well, this is where things get even more interesting. Queneau's public persona, playful, witty, even a bit irreverent. It hints at something deeper. His personal life and reading habits suggest a much more philosophical side.
Okay, a hidden side to Queneau, huh? I like where this is going. What kind of philosophical ideas was he into?
Well, he was a big reader of Raymond Queneau, 20th century philosopher, really emphasized traditional wisdom and esoteric knowledge.
Queneau, right, okay. But I don't see an obvious link to, the Oulipo methods. They were much more about experimenting with language, with form, right?
It's subtle. But if you look closely at Queneau's work, especially keeping in mind his interest in Queneau, there's a deeper layer there. For instance, you mentioned Pierre Mon Ami, right? Found it intriguing.
Yeah.
There's a character, Monsieur Morgue, who guards a tomb. And right before he dies, he says, "You can leave me now. I need to proceed with this transformation."
I remember that line. I thought it was just like dark humor. But you're saying there's more to it.
Precisely. When you consider Queneau's interest in Galenon's ideas about spiritual transformation, death takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just an ending, but a transition, a shift to a new state of being. It's like Queneau is using humor to explore these really profound philosophical concepts.
So these seemingly lighthearted novels, they actually have these hidden depths. I'm rethinking my whole understanding of Queneau's work now.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Think about his Neo-French project. On the surface, it seems like a failed linguistic experiment.
Right.
But what if we see it through the lens of Guénon's ideas about the limitations of language? Guénon believed that language inherently could never fully express the true nature of reality.
So you're saying Neo-French wasn't just about making written French more casual, it was reaching for something more fundamental.
Maybe Queneau, influenced by Guénon, was trying to break free from the constraints of language itself, trying to create a whole new way of expressing the inexpressible.
Wow. That's a fascinating take. It's like those Oulipo constraints, They seem limiting, but they actually open up these new possibilities.
Exactly.
Maybe Neo-French, in its failure, actually achieved something really profound.
It also connects back to this question of authorship. If language is inherently limited, then how much control does an author actually have over meaning? Are they a creator, or a conduit, or something else entirely?
It makes me think of that Calviner quote. How can we disrupt not the authors, but the function of the author? Maybe Oulipo, through its playful experimentation, is trying to dismantle our whole idea of what an author even is.
And maybe that dismantling is necessary. It frees us up to think differently about creativity, about meaning, about the artist's role in society.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But before we get too deep into the philosophy here, I keep coming back to Oulipo's playful side. Those quirky games, those techniques, how does that fit with this deeper philosophical side we're uncovering?
That's a great question. And something that seems to have really stood out to you based on what you highlighted in the materials?
Yeah.
Remember how you pointed out that even though they're grappling with these big ideas, the Oulipian writers don't take themselves too seriously? They embrace humor, wordplay, they have fun with it all.
It's true. Even when they're talking about complex concepts, there's this lightness, this joyfulness to their approach.
Maybe that playfulness is actually key to their creative process.
Yeah.
It allows them to approach these big questions without getting bogged down by, dogma or rigidity.
Yeah.
Just like they're saying, hey, these ideas are important, but let's not forget to enjoy the ride.
I'm starting to see how all the pieces fit together, the constraints, the playfulness, the philosophical depth. It's a complex puzzle, and I feel like we're only just beginning to see the whole picture.
And speaking of puzzles, you mentioned in the detail about Queneau's father in one of the documentaries.
Yeah.
Something about a rather unusual honeymoon.
Yes. That anecdote really struck me. It felt so out of place at the time. But now I'm wondering if there's a connection to his novel, The Sunday of Life. The main character goes on his honeymoon alone.
Huh. That's an interesting parallel. Queneau's work often blends personal experience with fictional narratives.
Do you think he was deliberately referencing his father's story in the novel?
It's hard to say for sure, but the connection is definitely intriguing. It highlights how even the most personal details can be woven into a larger tapestry of meaning.
It's like we're peeling back these layers, uncovering hidden connections between his life, his work, and his philosophical influences.
And that's where the real value of a deep dive lies. We're not just learning about Oulipo or Queneau in isolation. We're exploring the whole web of ideas, experiences, influences that shaped their work.
It makes you think about how we approach literature in general. Do we just focus on the text itself, or do we try to understand the context it was created in?
That's something to consider as you continue exploring Oulipo. Does knowing about Queneau's fascination with Queneau, or about his father's unusual honeymoon, change how you read his novels? Does it enrich the meaning, or does it take away from the pure enjoyment of the text?
These are good questions. I'm going to be thinking about those as I go back through these sources. What else have we got in this deep dive? I feel like we've gone pretty deep down this Oulipo and Queneau rabbit hole. Anything else we haven't touched on?
There's one more thing about Queneau. Given you're interested in how Oulipo plays with the idea of authorship, I think you'll find it fascinating. It's about his Exercises in Style project.
Oh, yeah, that was in the stuff you sent over. And the book where he rewrites the same simple story like 99 different ways, each time using a different style or constraint, right?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Queneau didn't actually write all 99 versions himself.
He didn't.
Nope. He collaborated with other Oulipo members. They each contributed their own take on the story.
Wait, really? So it wasn't a solo project at all. It was collaborative right from the start.
Exactly. And this makes the whole idea of authorship even more complicated. Who's the author of Exercises in Style? Is it Queneau, the one who came up with the idea? Or is it like a collective authorship? Each contributor adding their own voice to the mix.
It's like a literary puzzle, where each piece makes up the whole picture, but no single piece can stand on its own.
And that blurring of authorship, that collective creation, seems to be at the very heart of Oulipo. They're not into the lone genius. It's the potential that comes from working together, from constraints, from that willingness to play with language and form.
Thinking back to that Calvino quote, how can we disrupt not the authors, but the function of the author? It feels like Oulipo is actually doing that.
And that disruption, maybe it's ultimately freeing. It breaks us out of those traditional ideas about authorship and opens up so many new possibilities for creativity.
You know, this whole deep dive has really opened my eyes. I'm starting to see how Oulipo's methods, their playful approach to constraints, how it could apply to so much more than just literature.
Absolutely. Whether you're writing a novel, composing music, designing a building, even just problem solving your daily life, Oulipo's principles can offer a fresh perspective.
So as you keep exploring Oulipo, maybe even experiment with their techniques yourself. What's your main takeaway? What's resonated most with you?
I think for me, it's realizing that limitations can actually be liberating. That by embracing those constraints, by working within a set of rules, we can actually unlock new creative potential.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And for me, I think it's the reminder that playfulness is essential to creativity. Oulipo never loses sight of the joy and experimentation, the pure fun of playing with language, with ideas. That's something we can all learn from no matter what we do.
Well, it sounds like we've both gained some valuable insights from this dive into the world of Oulipo. Hopefully it's given you a new way of thinking about authorship, creativity, and the power of constraint.
It definitely has. And who knows, maybe this is just the beginning of a much longer exploration. There's a whole world of potential literature out there, and I'm excited to see where it leads.